In the Garden of Eden, God and Adam and Eve were growing. Lucifer, the archangel, as he saw Adam and Eve growing and growing, realizing more and more that they were, what was their destiny? To become greater than he, to become true parents. Instead of realizing that through Adam and Eve and through true parents, he would receive God's love and their love, he panicked. He freaked out. He wanted to kill Adam and Eve, truth be told. But he couldn't do that. God, would any parent here sit back and let someone kill your children? No. But he did something worse. He tempted Adam and Eve with a false word to betray God. In a sense, that was even worse than killing them, because God lost everything through that, and God suffered in his heart. They betrayed God, Adam and Eve, and then through their children, Lucifer, who became Satan, caused Cain, the elder brother, to what? To murder his younger brother. So these crimes of betrayal of God and murder of God's children, these were Lucifer's crimes. This was the cause of God's suffering. 4,000 biblical years later, finally, God could send his son, Jesus, as this shoot out of the stump of Jesse, this lineage of David, the lion of the tribe of Judah. Amen? The long-awaited Messiah. God himself waited thousands upon thousands of years. What was his mission? Not to die. His destiny was not the cross. His mission and destiny was to perfect himself, which he did as the true Adam, overcoming Adam's tendency to betray God, but then to go on and to find and restore Eve, who was lost to God through the fall, and then together be blessed by God as true parents, and to have true children, amen, to establish God's eternal lineage, so that this tree was not a stump or not just a root, but it could have then a trunk and branches and leaves and blossom and grow for eternity. Satan tried his best. Don't you think he wanted to destroy Jesus? He could see the end for him was near. He tried to tempt him, didn't he? 3 temptations to make Jesus betray God the way that the first Adam did. But did Jesus betray God? No. He was humble, faithful, absolutely obedient. Have you ever read the book of Hebrews, the 8th chapter, the 5th verse? It actually says that Jesus, although he was the Son, he learned what? He learned obedience. How? Through the things that he suffered. Wait a second. That's not my Jesus. That's your Jesus. That's God's Jesus. The one who became perfect through his suffering. The one who learned obedience and stood as the true Adam through his suffering. So Jesus, of course, reached perfection. He could not be tempted by Satan. So what does Satan do? If you can't tempt him to betray God, then you try to kill him. And so Satan caused, as he did with Cain, he caused Israelites in the Cain position to betray him and ultimately to send him to the cross, to kill him. The Abel, the son, the true Adam, the vine, was killed, was cut off. Now, God had to allow this. God could not save the life of Jesus. He had to ask Jesus to offer his life. Jesus could have run away, but he could not. And so Jesus faced his own destiny and the cross and offered himself willingly as a lamb of sacrifice. In doing so, he brought spiritual salvation to humanity. But God said, I will send the Messiah again. And so, brothers and sisters, 2,000 years later, through intense suffering, God, Jesus in the spiritual world, mankind on the earth, 2,000 years later, God and Jesus called Father Moon at the age of 16 to become the third Adam. And you might know that God always succeeds on the third attempt, because the first Adam betrayed God. The second Adam was faithful to God unto his life, but was killed by Satan. But the condition that Jesus made on the cross allowed God to raise up the third Adam, our true Father, and protect his life. What an incredible life he's had since taking on this mission. But he never died. Amen? I want to read from our Father's autobiography from page 89, because we hear about his torture, surviving unbelievable torture in prison many, many times. But what was his attitude? Bearing this in mind. In prison, the authorities beat me endlessly, and they demanded that I confess my crimes. I endured. Even as I was vomiting blood and I seemed on the verge of death, I never let myself lose consciousness. Sometimes the pain would be so great, I would bend over at the waist. But I prayed with confidence, God, don't worry about me. Sun Myung Moon is not dead yet. I won't let myself die in such a miserable way as this. And then he said, I was right. It was not yet time for me to die. There was a mountain of tasks before me that I had to accomplish. I had a mission. I was not someone so weak as to be beaten into submission by something as trivial as torture. Each time I collapsed from the torture, I would endure by telling myself, I am being beaten for the sake of the Korean people. I am shedding tears as a way of shouldering the pain of our people. When the torture was so severe that it took me to the verge of losing consciousness, I would invariably hear the voice of God. In the moments when my life seemed about to end, God would appear to me. My body still carries several scars that I received at that time. The flesh was gouged from my body. The blood that was lost, they've all been replaced. But the pain of that experience remains with me in these scars. I've often looked at these scars and told myself, because you carry these scars, you must succeed. So Father succeeded. You can ask God and Jesus how much they love Father Moon and Mother Moon. They'll tell you. Father, as the third Adam, had to reach perfection, had to find that third Eve, because the second Eve, the wife of Jesus, never appeared. Yes, someone was prepared, but he never had a chance. He had to find the third Eve and establish true parents and have children blessed by God and establish God's eternal lineage on earth as a true olive tree. And then all mankind must engraft into that lineage through true parents. That's why we're so blessed to live at this time. So Father, through his life, through this kind of life, through his study of the Bible, through his prayer, through his wandering in the spiritual world, through his communication with God, he came to understand what history was all about. The history of restoration through indemnity, as he calls it. And recently, Father has illuminated that process of indemnity through history restoring what was lost, restoring God's ideal. And he said there are two parts of that. The first is reenactment or reproduction, where Satan has a condition to reenact the crimes that were committed at the Garden of Eden, but that the Messiah, the true parents, the second part of this is liquidation, by faithfully, gratefully receiving, suffering, absorbing everything that Satan has to throw at them. They can liquidate those crimes for eternity. Amen? That's the process. That's the life of our true parents and the true children. So it took 3 attempts for God to establish and keep alive the true Adam. The first Adam betrayed and died spiritually. The second Adam was faithful, Jesus, but died physically and brought spiritual salvation. The third Adam, our true Father, did not die, reached perfection, established the true parents and the true family on earth, and God's family tree through all of us as blessed central families is alive and well. Amen?